Brad Parscale, I got that name right, I think. The campaign manager for Donald Trump's 2020 bid, which is flailing, is out. He has been ousted, and Trump announced it this morning in a Facebook post. He said that he is removing his top campaign manager, Brad Parscale, and tapping deputy campaign manager Bill Stepien, a veteran Republican operative, to take over. Stepien was campaign manager for both the former New Jersey Governor Christie's gubernatorial runs and served as his deputy chief of staff, but he was fired in 2014 in the Bridgegate scandal that plagued Christie. Stepien was named deputy campaign manager in May in an effort to layer Parscale, who had been campaign manager for more than 2 years, but had come under fire in the last few months for lagging poll numbers. He will keep his digital and data strategy duties, the campaign said. Parscale's role had already diminished greatly in recent weeks, with Stepien handling strategy, Jason Miller taking over messaging, and Jeff DeWitt brought in to manage finances, said a person close to the campaign. Some aides had assumed that Parscale would keep the top title in an honorary fashion, or that he would be moved into a chairman role rather than be given such a clear demotion. But that is not the Trump administration's way, not Trump's way, even though it was apparently Jared Kushner who demoted him and broke the news to him, not Trump himself. He wouldn't do that, he wouldn't get his hands dirty, but he would want to make a very public spanking out of the demotion of Parscale and humiliate him. Very Trump-esque.
Yeah, Emma, thank you for giving the world's worst visual.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Okay. I cannot get that toxicity out of my mind now. All right. One more fun part of this story, and then we'll break it down and give you real facts. Because the one I'm about to tell you is not a fact, but it was fun. For a while online, there was rumors that the reason Trump fired him was not because of Tulsa or the fact that he's getting killed in the polls, but it's because there was rumors that Brad Parscale was dating Hope Hicks. And Hope Hicks is a two-time now White House advisor, and there were rumors that Trump is in love with her. She's of course like 50 years younger than him, and that's why he got mad at Parscale. Now, it is definitely not true, okay?
It was like started by the Lincoln Project guy. I think that's where you trace the origin. So I don't trust anything that Rick Wilson says.
Yeah, and no, it was clearly a joke because they said they were seen canoodling at Comet Pizza. So that's a conspiracy theory place, etc. It's definitely a joke. So okay, now let's move on to facts that are also fun. So first of all, what Emma mentioned is awesome. They're like, normally they do face saving, like, oh, he's campaign chair. Oh yeah, I mean he's got a chair. He's gonna sit there for the rest of the campaign. But they're like, no. Now he'll be serving under the new guy who he used to serve over. This is 100% a demotion. We want to be super clear about it. And then it's not even a light spanking. It's a pretty heavy spanking. The only way it gets worse is if, of course, he was fired. But now he doesn't control the purse anymore. That's very relevant because he had managed to get $40 million into his own companies through the Trump campaign. I mean, he's almost Elmer Fudd. He had a mansion and a yacht paid for by Trump supporters. In fact, he had a mansion, I think 2 condos, a yacht, a Ferrari, and a Range Rover at a minimum.
You're spoiling the Lincoln Project ad we're about to tee up.
Okay. So that got under Trump's skin. But like the main reason that he's fired though, and remember who Brad Parscale is. He's a rando from the middle of Texas that like used to do websites for cheap. So the Trump organization, which only had like 4 or 5 employees, like, oh, Trump, I'm a billionaire. No, he's not. He runs a local family mom and pop shop. It's just a mom and pop shop that his dad gave $413 million to, right? So and they do everything on the cheap. So they hired this rando out of Texas, Brad Parscale, back in 2011 to manage their rinky-dink websites. And then somehow he became a campaign. He has no political experience. All he has is, but he has a strong grift game, that's for sure. So he's the grift that keeps on taking. At some point, Trump was like, "Well, you took $40 million from me. You took the audience away in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you took away my poll numbers. So I think the least I could do is take away your job. Now, having said all that, of course, the real reason Trump is losing is because of Trump.
Right. I mean, not even the most seasoned political operative could save the flailing campaign right now. The economic collapse, the pandemic, Trump has set this all up for himself. But Parscale was not completely ousted from the campaign because he's still sycophantic to the Trump family and to the Trump team. He's been close in Trump circles for a long time. So the fact that he wasn't completely out of the campaign was seen as a little bit of a token for him. It doesn't usually happen that way. People usually go out in a ball of flames. Mr. Parscale, who was handpicked by Mr. Kushner and who is close to the Trump family, lasted longer in the job than most of the people who led various iterations of Mr. Trump's 2016 campaign. And campaign aides emphasized that Mr. Parscale was being asked to stay on, unlike others who have been let go from the Trump orbit. But Mr. Parscale has no background in politics, as Cenk mentioned, and he suffered something of a mortal wound in the role 3 weeks ago when a much hyped rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma to reboot Mr. Trump's campaign was sparsely attended after Mr. Parscale boasted of nearly 1 million ticket requests. Just over 6,000 people attended. Womp womp. The June 20th event, an embarrassment that Mr. Trump could not let go of. The president at times berated Mr. Parscale over real and perceived transgressions, sometimes screaming at him and once threatening to sue him. Trump loves threatening to sue people almost as much as he loves screaming at and berating his employees, which you see over and over again. Parscale still wants to work for this guy after now being publicly humiliated and pushed to the side in a different kind of role. And for some reason, the Trump campaign is still insisting that it's not a demotion. It's not a demotion. He's still with us. Everything is fine and good. This is what a Trump campaign advisor said on cable news today.
Let's be clear what happened here. The only thing that shifted was Donald Trump simply asked Bill to steer the ship and Brad to man the guns.
Right, because Parscale's not out altogether. He's been demoted. He'll be in a different position. Yeah. So Hogan, but why?
I would argue again. I would argue a couple things. First of all, he's not demoted. What Brad is focusing on is the digital strategy. Look, he's built something no one thought possible, raising money at clips that are at historic levels. And so Brad's going to focus on one thing, Bill's going to focus on the other, but both are working toward victory for the American people, and that means a victory for Donald Trump.
Notice how the Fox host gives him a win, concedes to his completely obvious BS framing, and he goes, no, and corrects her a second time. There's no way to get through these people. It's insane.
No. I wouldn't agree that going from CEO to intern is that a demotion? Interns are also super important. They're really, really important. And so look, the reason why they're bending over backwards for Parscale, who's robbed them blind, is because of Kushner. Kushner is the most powerful guy in the White House. He's arguably the president. Trump is like the public face of the tweets, and Kushner runs everything behind the scenes. Since he was Kushner's boy, it was a very, very hard to oust him. I mean, this is the best they could do. And Trump's like, is it okay, Jared, if I just move him down? Is it please? I'm begging you, Jared. I'm begging you. Is it okay? And Jared apparently greenlit it that he go back to digital. So on that, look, he got humiliated. That's supposed to be his big strength, like digital campaigns. Well, he ran a digital campaign to get a lot of people to Tulsa, and an idiot thought that 1 million people were actually going to come and didn't realize they were kids from TikTok and K-pop fans. So if you get played by a bunch of teenagers on TikTok, maybe digital isn't your strength. And maybe stealing $40 million is your strength. Anyway, and the other thing that Trump didn't like was apparently he had become too much of a celebrity in his own right. Like he'd give some opening speeches and then he had the temerity to sign his own autograph for some people. And that apparently got under Trump's skin. Trump is the biggest baby in the world by an order of magnitude. And now I want to move on to Stepien. And then Emma, you come back in with Lincoln Project or whoever else you got lined up. But the new campaign manager, this is the guy who was so unethical. He was fired by Christie for Bridgegate. Like when Christie thinks you're scum, like, man. And of course, Trump sees that. He's like, oh, perfect. Remember Trump's first lawyer, Roy Cohn, like legendarily bad guy, goes down in American history as one of the worst guys to ever be associated with the government. Trump doesn't see that as the bug, he sees that as the feature. Roger Stone, same thing. He's like, oh my God, you're known as a giant dirtbag? Great, you're in. You're the new guy. Hey, put him in. And then, well, you think, well, look, to be fair, maybe this guy's really good at politics. So he was the political director for the White House in 2018 during the 2018 midterm elections. Oops, that's where they got routed in the House. So failure as far as the eye can see.
It's incredible. I mean, when you talk about how Kushner runs things behind the scenes, Cenk, it set off a light bulb for me because Trump can't have anyone outshining him. And Kushner doesn't outshine anybody. And that's part of why he hated Pascal. Jesus, I can't say the name. He was signing autographs and everything like this. Maggie Haberman of the New York Times writes, for over a year, Mr. Pascal has been the focus of intense scrutiny and news coverage about his operation and whether he was making an outsized amount of money from the campaign. Those articles have focused attention on his purchases of property and cars in Florida where he lives and became a source of irritation for the president who saw them as a distraction. Mr. Pascal was also visible in ways that campaign managers typically aren't, appearing in a campaign ad and having his name listed on fundraising events, in addition to the autograph signing that Cenk talked about. But yeah, I mean, Kushner has no charisma. He's kind of meek. And he's allowed to shuffle through and run things behind the scenes because he doesn't really threaten Trump in terms of I seek, attention in the spotlight in that sense.
Yeah, I'll give Kushner this one thing though. At least he was savvy enough, unlike the rest of them, to stay hidden. And on two counts, if you get too much media attention, Trump will fire you, even if you're his son-in-law. So he was smart enough to hide in the bushes longer than Sean Spicer. And the second reason why it's smart to hide is because then you're the man behind the curtain. Every time he speaks publicly, you're like, oh right, he's a total idiot too. Like you keep thinking there's somebody smart behind the scenes. No, remember his dad had to pay a king's ransom to get him into Harvard. And I love that story because the dumber the kid is, the more you have to pay. And I think he had to pay $2 million to get him in. So better to stay hidden, Jared. It's working out okay for you so far.
Well, yeah, just to put a button on that. So the Lincoln Project, which an organization I have a large amount of disdain for in the sense that it's run by ex-Bush aide grifters who are taking MSNBC fans' money just to needle Trump. And then I think eventually are gonna try to look for something back and when Biden wins, because look, oh, we're a super PAC, we helped you win. Super PACs definitely do things out of the goodness of their hearts. Anyway, with that preface, the Lincoln Project was running ads about Pascal and his lavish purchases, and that might have been what got under Trump's skin.
Meet Brad Pascal. From dead broke to the man Trump can't win without. Brad was getting rich. How rich? Really rich. But don't tell Donald. He'd wonder how Brad can afford so much. A $2.4 million waterfront house in Fort Lauderdale. 2 Florida condos worth almost $1 million each. He even has his very own yacht, a gorgeous Ferrari, a sleek Range Rover. Brad brags about using private jets. Oh my, Brad's a star. And why not? Brad's worth every dollar. Just ask him.
So the Lincoln Project pronounced it as Pascal. I thought it was Pascal. That's what Brett Ehrlich told me. I don't know anymore. Go on, Cenk.
Yeah, well, you did say it was hard to trust the Lincoln Project. Seriously, though, they do make great ads. And the reason why that one's great, that's not gonna swing any voters. Like, what does a voter in Pennsylvania care about any of that? But my God, Donald Trump, that will get under every skin he's got. The orange skin he's got is gonna get blown out by that. When he sees that, he's like, I should be making that money. I should be stealing that money. I want the yacht. So Nice job by the Lincoln Project on hitting two birds or two crooks with one stone.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.